When it comes to Kekkei Genkai, some of the very first ones that are brought up are the Sharingan and Ice release. However, Wood release is also very high up on the list for a lot of people. Originally, it was the Kekkei Genkai that only the first Hokage was stated to have, but as the series progressed, we saw more and more shinobi being able to use Wood release. This has led to quite a few number of Wood release jutsu actually going up, and because everyone from Hashirama Senju to even in the Boruto era Moegi, the number of people who have Wood release has gone up drastically. In today's video, I'm going to break down every Wood release jutsu that's been introduced in the series, just so you guys can see how stupidly overpowered and versatile the Wood release jutsu is. Part of the reason why Hashirama was made famous with Wood release is that the guy used Wood release to create the gigantic forest that surrounds the village hidden in the leaves, which according to Naruto Data Book 2 is part of the reason why so many people who joined Konoha wanted him to become the first Hokage. However, Wood release can also manipulate, absorb, and completely suppress the chakra of whoever it's used on. This is why Hashirama was able to keep most of the Biju as house pets during the Warring States era and the early part of the First Shinobi World War. There's a reason why Wood release is something that people spent decades researching the DNA of Hashirama in an attempt to unlock its power. Whoever unlocks the ability has the potential to use over 30 different Wood release jutsu and jutsu that's rooted in Wood release. Wood style giant tree spear is used when the caster summons several massive tree roots from the ground and uses it to completely crush their target with them. Wood release deep forest bloom jutsu allows the user to produce trees on any surface that they choose at an insanely fast pace, which can simultaneously produce branches to hold off the target in place and then release a poison pollen that can both eat through a Susanoo and knock a person unconscious depending on the amount of chakra that's used in the pollen. Literally, the only way to stop this jutsu is to burn down all the trees in the area, or the target must fly into the air to avoid the pollen until it stops being produced. The Wood release several thousand hands jutsu can only be used by Hashirama after Hashirama's gone into Sage mode, but the jutsu is still pretty busted when you look at it. The user makes a massive statue with several thousand hands, which can all be moved independently by the caster, and they pack enough punch that they can knock out a Biju, and the size of the statue is larger than a complete Susanoo by several times. The Wood clone and multi-wood clone jutsu are basically the Wood release version of the shadow clone jutsu, but the difference here is that the user creates the clones using the vegetation in the area to create the clones, and much like shadow clones, the Wood clones can act independently of one another. The Mayfly jutsu is a jutsu that Zetsu uses when he merges his body into the ground and travels without being detected by even the most skilled sensory ninja, being able to move at speeds that almost, keyword almost, rival Obito's Kamui. The Lotus King jutsu is a massive statue that acts like the 1000 hands jutsu, but it doesn't require Sage mode to use. Just like Hashirama's Sage mode variation, the user can use their hands to perform ninjutsu whenever he wishes to, so essentially each of these hands, these 1000 hands, can perform jutsu if they are ordered to by the user. The 10th Edik of Enlightenment jutsu is the very same jutsu that Yamato used to suppress Naruto's Kyuubi chakra. The whole purpose of this jutsu is to forcibly shut down the Biju chakra of a Jinchuriki or tailed beast until the target is too weak to move, but the drawback to this jutsu is that you have to have the appropriate seal on your hand and you have to make physical contact with either the Biju or the Jinchuriki in order to pull it off. Yamato also needs to use the necklace of the first Hokage in order to perform this jutsu, whereas Hashirama could do it on his own. The All is Suffering jutsu allows the user to create a massive statue to produce 5 small heads that encircle the main head of the statue, and these 5 heads shoot out roughly highly concentrated chakra nature attacks all at the same time. The tree summoning jutsu is used by Danzo as a last ditch effort by Danzo when he's being pressured in battle. This jutsu doesn't require hand signs to use, but it uses up a massive amount of chakra, but in return the user can turn their own cells into a tree, which allows them to deflect a deadly attack or alter the path of the attack. The Summit Enlightenment jutsu allows the user to create a giant statue with 100 hands that allows the user to control them all at once in a fight, which needless to say is damn near impossible to defend against unless you have a Susanoo level defense, and even then it's going to be really hard to protect yourself from the sheer volume of one-shot attacks that can take out a Biju. The Signal Seed jutsu transforms a wood clone into an actual seed, which then allows the user to track the target. The Deep Forest Emergence jutsu creates a plethora of trees that are powerful enough to split the earth that it's being summoned on, and the dense woodland grows goes fast enough that the target has no chance of being able to escape. This is the very same jutsu that Hashirama used to create the forest that surrounds Konoha. The cutting springs jutsu is a wood release jutsu that shoots out wooden spikes that can be used as swords or they can be used as projectiles, and when used by a skilled user, the spikes can be controlled remotely and can be used to produce dozens of additional spikes that sprout off from the main spike. The dog head jutsu creates wooden pillars that have flames lit on top of them, and they can be used to absorb the chakra of a biju or a jinchuriki once they make contact after the user slams their fist onto the ground to control the direction of the statues. The 4-pillar house jutsu uses the roots of plants underground to immediately have their growth accelerated to create a 4-pillar home, which can also be turned into a home that cannot be detected by any enemies once the appropriate ceiling tags are placed around it. The 4-pillar prison jutsu creates a wooden prison that is nearly indestructible by the way of chakra-based attacks, since the wood is coated in chakra and wood release properties allow it to absorb chakra. The Great Forest jutsu allows the user to transform their arm onto a cellular level into giant spears that can be used to attack the target. Now the wood expulsion jutsu allows for a dome defense that takes on the appearance of a dragon's face that can hold off the power of a biju bomb. The laughing Buddha jutsu creates giant hands that simultaneously rocket out from the earth and restrain the target that's chosen by the user. Each of these hands is the exact same size as a fully matured biju. To give you guys an understanding of how overpowered Hashirama was, while anyone else would have to weave hand signs to use this jutsu, Hashirama can do this hand sign. Hashirama can do this jutsu with only his sheer willpower. Now the Sea of Trees jutsu is Yamato's very watered down version of the Deep Forest Emergence jutsu. The main difference in it is that it's drastically smaller in terms of scale. Now the wood release silent strangle jutsu creates multiple branches that immobilize the target, sucking away their chakra while binding their movements. Now the tree bind burial jutsu allows the user to use a lot less chakra than the other jutsu that we covered before, and it basically allows them to bind the target with tree roots and then sink them into the ground and crush their body using the surrounding roots in the area. However, the jutsu is not something that can be used on a whim, but instead must undergo a lot of preparation on the very site, the exact site where the jutsu is going to be used. Now the wood dragon jutsu creates a giant wood dragon that once it hits its target, it's able to drain them of their chakra, and when Hashirama uses the jutsu, once the dragon sinks its teeth into the target, Hashirama can blow up the dragon to inflict more damage on the person after they've already had the chakra drained. The wood golem jutsu creates a humanoid golem that has a wood dragon wrapped around its body. The golem by itself was already stated in Naruto Databook 4 as written by Masashi Kishimoto as being equal in power to that of the Nine Tails itself, and that it can catch and suppress the power of a fully charged biju bomb that's fired by the QB. So as you guys can see, wood release on its own is very powerful, but it's someone like Moegi who, according to the Boruto manga character profile, has mastery over wood release. If she ever gains Hashirama's level of skill when it comes to this jutsu, then the level of damage that can be doled out could reach levels that rivals the power of the fully powered QB. But that's gonna be it for this video today, guys. If you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.